From college football star and Canadian football legend, to NFL underdog and even playing for Donald Trump, Doug Flutie's unique career brought him all across the continent to defy the supposed odds. Always an underdog, and always proving critics wrong, this is everything I know about Doug Flutie.
I think Doug could be the Joe Namath of the USFL.
20! Oh, the band is out on the field! He's going to go into the end zone!
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The double champ does what the he wants.
Thomas gave it to Sundin. They go up the net. Sundin scores! That's Sundin. Bullet shot.
Miller, lovely cushion header. Pajero! You beauty! What a head, son! What a head!
Batted up. Oh, God! Stokely down the sideline. Can they catch him? Anything's possible!
It's over! And the Cubs have finally won it all! It's 7-10!
In your life have you seen anything like that?
My experience with Flutie began way back in the mid-90s. While he had already been successful in the Canadian Football League, playing for the BC Lions and Calgary Stampeders, where he received $1 million salary, unheard of in that league, won a Grey Cup, and had Jeff Garcia as his backup, I became familiar with him on the Toronto Argonauts, where he, along with the dynamic Mike Pinball Clemens, won 2 Grey Cups in spectacular fashion.
But in 1996, the game returned to its roots when the Toronto Argonauts and Edmonton Eskimos battled in the Snow Bowl.
It wasn't until one Saturday night at the theme park Canada's Wonderland, however, that I realized how big Flutie had become. Even though he wasn't Canadian and had played in the NFL already, Flutie's rise through the Canadian League, which sent him back to the NFL, had everyone feeling oddly patriotic, especially since he would play for the nearby Buffalo Bills. A 5,500-yard and 47-touchdown season, second to only his own record of 48, Flutie's hype was so big that he got his own breakfast cereal. I got my first box that night at Canada's Wonderland as a promotion for the Doug Flutie Jr. Foundation.
Hi, I'm Doug Flutie, pro football player and father of an autistic child. A lot of people buy Flutie Flakes because a portion of the proceeds go to help autistic children. But there's another way you can help. And every time you use it, a donation will be made to the Doug Flutie Jr. Foundation. So dial 1010-220, talk up to 20 minutes for only 99 cents, and help some great kids at the same time. It's a win-win situation. I wish football was this easy.
Let's rewind, though, to the beginning of the Flutie legend. Boston College, 1984. Flutie's Heisman-winning year came to a pinnacle during a nationally televised game on CBS just a day after Thanksgiving. Big ratings. With 28 seconds left, Flutie's patented rollout passing went from relative unknown to what became Flutie magic.
3 wide receivers out to the right. Flutie flushed. Throws it down. Caught by Boston College. I don't believe it. It's a touchdown. The Eagles win it.
Unbelievable!
I don't believe it. Phelan is at the bottom of that pile. Here comes the Boston College team. He threw it into the end zone. There was no time left on the...
Even with his famous play, a statue in his likeness, and countless stories about overcoming his size, Flutie was not seen as a viable option to play QB in the NFL.
The Division I schools, when a coach would come visit, all he would talk about was my size.
Have you already reconciled, although you're just a junior, have you already reconciled yourself to the probability that the pros will probably pass you by?
I'd love to take an opportunity to try in pro football, but from what I've heard and what I've people have told me, I really don't think it's going to be in the future for me.
Okay, here you won the Heisman, you've put up all these numbers, you beat big-time teams. You're too small to play. So publicly, when they get asked the question, oh, he's great, he's a phenomenal talent, he's this, he's that, he blah, 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 and they try to say all these positive things, and in the back of their mind, they're like, somebody else draft him.
The NFL's disdain for undersized quarterbacks led to Flutie taking a different route, to the USFL to play for the New Jersey Generals, owned by none other than Donald Trump.
I'm not that tall.
He was drafted by New Jersey months before the NFL draft took place and skipped all the controversy about his size by signing a 5-year, $7 million contract. This made Flutie the highest paid football player and highest paid rookie in any sport across the entire United States.
You may have noticed how the USFL has attracted top quality players, like Heisman Trophy winners Doug Flutie and Herschel Walker. Boy, can they play, but they can do more than play in the USFL. Like we can do this. And this. Check us out, the USFL, where football is still a game.
Now, exactly 20 years later, another young quarterback has been lured to another young professional team in the New York area, the New Jersey Generals. And Doug Flutie is supposed to do for the United States Football League what Joe Namath supposedly did for the American.
Save the AFL? I didn't know it was save. I was looking to save Joe.
Well, I think Doug could be the Joe Namath of the USFL.
It's flattering, but I'm not going to try to hold myself to that comparison.
The LA Rams still drafted him anyway, however, in the 11th round of the NFL draft. A lackluster year in the USFL before the entire league collapsed meant he would play for the Chicago Bears after his rights were traded. In just 5 games for the Bears, Flutie had 361 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. He was traded to the Patriots in '87, a year that marked the NFL Players Association going on strike, resulting in replacement players. Keanu Reeves fans, we know there's so many of them out there, will recognize this theme as portrayed in the 5 out of 10 movie, The Replacements.
The players' strike became official at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
We're going to finish the season anyway. We're going to use replacement players.
They've all played football somewhere, not all of them in the pros, but they all have something unique to bring to the game.
Hey, Scab!
I don't want trouble.
1, 2, 3!
Thanks, guys.
And I grew strong. And you know I hate this damn song. I learned how to get along and so you're back.
Cheers, babes.
Flutie crossed the picket lines in order to play, enduring backlash and being called a scab, but success was quite limited anyhow. After less than 100 passing attempts in '89, Flutie took his talents to South Beach. And by South Beach, I mean the cold-ass weather that is Canada.
Very happy to be in Toronto. It wasn't a matter of me sitting back and saying, I don't want to go to Toronto. I was very excited about the possibility of coming to Toronto from day one.
Day one was the happiest day Doug Flutie's had in weeks.
In 1998, Doug Flutie was the best QB the CFL had ever seen, and it was time again to go to the big show. He would make a return to the NFL to play for the Buffalo Bills. Despite all the hype for Flutie Flakes, the Bills still weren't willing to make him the starter though, After hype QB Rob Johnson went down immediately with an injury, he was terrible. Flutie was called on to play. Now Dougie had a big comeback that game, and the following week would make his first NFL start in 9 years.
There's Doug Flutie. Said he was too small to play in the NFL.
After an absence of nearly a decade, Doug Flutie's second act in the NFL was underway. Flutie's play in the season opener created a buzz in Buffalo that kept building.
The longest gap of that kind is that of Tommy Maddox, just a couple months short of 10 years between starts. He's the only QB to be an XFL champion and then go on to play in the NFL afterwards. For now. Flutie was named the starter and had a Pro Bowl season. He would lose, however, to the Dolphins in the wild card by a score of 24-17 that year. Following season, Flutie played even better, bringing the Bills to the playoffs again with a 10-5 record. But because owner Ralph Wilson didn't want to feel like he wasted money and time on his younger QB, they started Rob Johnson in the wildcard game against the Titans. Now, as a big Flutie fan at the time, I was watching and everyone was confused as to why they wouldn't play him. It kind of felt like all of Canada was sitting on the bench with him, while the Bills struggled without him in the game. Johnson would end up playing pretty bad though, going just 10 for 22 and 131 yards. The Bills were still in a position to win somehow though, up by 1 point with 16 seconds left after a field goal. That is, until the Music City Miracle happened.
Do the Titans have a miracle left in them in what has been a magical season to this point? If they do, they need it now. Christie kicks it high and short. Going to be fielded by Lorenzo Neal at the 25. Pitches it back to Wycheck. He throws it across the field to Dyson.
He's got something.
30,
He's got
40,
something.
50,
He's got it.
40,
He's got it.
20, 10.
He's got it.
End zone. Touchdown Titans. There are no flags on the field. It's a miracle. Tennessee has pulled a miracle.
The next season's Flutie was again benched. He played as a backup, and when Rob Johnson was injured, Johnson would go on to be 4-7 that year, and Flutie 4-1. And somehow, some way, Flutie was released, and Johnson was kept. It may seem like a loss, but in 2001, Flutie was signed by the Chargers, and his performance in the NFL meant that CFL players weren't being taken as lightly anymore. Flutie would be the spearhead to the biggest exodus of CFL players by way of talent to the NFL, especially in the AFC West for whatever reason. Players like Dave Dickinson, Henry Burris, and Mark Boerichter followed the likes of Flutie and Mike Vanderjagt, as well as Jeff Garcia, as former CFL stars who are now in the NFL. Exciting Canadian kids who got to play their local heroes in Madden games, while following years would see a good amount of CFL players make practice squad and depth positions in the NFL. This was a distinct era where CFL players weren't being taken lightly. On the Chargers, Flutie played all 16 games his first season and would go 5-11. But he did at least, however, get a game-winning TD against his former team, the Bills, who had started Rob Johnson that game.
15-yard line of Buffalo. Full wide receiver set Fletcher. The lone back. He flushes out. Flutie escapes. The little man on the run. Flutie fired. Touchdown!
Flutie was replaced by Hall of Famer and Super Bowl champion Drew Brees, after which he played just 10 games in his final 3 seasons with the Chargers. In his final NFL season, Flutie returned home to New England, where he hadn't played since 1989. The Pats had just won their second Super Bowl in a row. Now, they couldn't become the first team to have a three-peat, but the season did have some notable milestones for the legendary QB. In a December divisional game against the Jets, both teams put in their backup quarterbacks. Flutie, 43 years old, and Vinny Testaverde, 42. This was the first time two QBs over 40 competed against each other. In the season's final game against the Dolphins and Flutie's last, he lined up on the extra point team and did this.
Doug Flutie will be out there in a very strange formation, trying for 2. Or will it be a drop kick, perhaps? Drop kick for the extra point. It is up and in. Can you believe that? And what might be Doug Flutie's last professional football game.
Look at Belichick.
That is 1 point, and it's 25-20. Miami's lead cut down to 5.
That alone was the price of admission right here for these fans in New England. Last time a drop kick happened in the NFL, we were talking leather helmets, and they were taking trains and buses to games.
While another year in the NFL or a CFL return was speculated, that drop kick would be the last time we saw Doug Flutie play in a game. A lot of players have taught me lessons in life, but Flutie's never give up play style and beating all odds against him to be not only the greatest CFL player of all time, but to be successful in the NFL, is a testament to one being in control of their own destiny. Even if he was robbed of a few chances, what Flutie did, given his size and lack of respect he was shown, opened the door for a lot of players, including the likes of Drew Brees.
I feel I can play. I don't know for sure, and those questions will be answered in the future.
A final fun fact for you, Doug Flutie was the second to last player to retire who played in the USFL, outlasted only by punter Sean Landeta.
As a punter in the National Football League, the role you play in your team's success is a very important one. While you do a lot of things individually, many times how you perform has a direct effect on the outcome of a football game.
About a 50-50 chance. You got a couple guys down there, they got a couple guys down there, you throw it, and let everybody go for it.